This is Point of View, celebrating a world record-breaking 62 years of quality public affairs programs from the studios of WDEF News 12, Chattanooga. Hello, and thank you very much for being with us. I'm Maurice Lewis. No matter where you go here in Chattanooga, in Tennessee, or anywhere in the world, there are people who are involved with culinary arts, with tourism, and with travel. And guess what? One of the best places to get your education is here in Chattanooga. But before we get into that, I'd like to welcome my co-host with me today. Shawanda, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I am a freelance writer and blogger here, and
A freelance blogger, okay.
yes. I have a food and lifestyle blog that I've had for the last 6 years. I also write a cooking column for Nuga.com.
So we get an opportunity to talk with Shannon Johnson. And Shannon, your position as director over at the Hospitality and Tourism Management, there is a specific name for the school.
Yeah, it's named after Michael P. Hennon. It's the Hennon Center at Chattanooga State, and we're really proud of the program there. We've made a lot of headway in just a year of being up and running.
Well, how was this thing conceptualized, and how has it been able to run?
You know, the Hennons really wanted to give back to Chattanooga and remember Michael, and so they put together the program with some really influential individuals here in Chattanooga to really ultimately impact service and the guest experience here in Chattanooga in a very positive way, and we're making really good headway doing that.
You know, it couldn't be more timely when you look at how popular Chattanooga is as a destination. People are retiring here. There's a lot more work, and when we look at the communications opportunities and manufacturing opportunities that are available.
Absolutely. It's been proven that where there's culinary schools and hospitality schools, the service in those areas increases dramatically. And with the rise in tourism here in Chattanooga, you know, right now tourism is a $1 billion industry in Chattanooga. So with that rise in that tourism, it gives us an opportunity to showcase the talents of Chattanooga, and we're really excited to do that.
Shawanda, I know you're interested in what happens and the way people enter the city and what they're eating and what they're drinking.
Yeah.
Well, there are two things that are happening here. People are looking for jobs, number one, and they're looking for training. So it's quantity, quality, educational opportunity.
Yeah, and we're really going after quality as opposed to quantity. We want to make sure that our students get a really serious hands-on education, whether it's in tourism or hospitality or hotel management or culinary arts. I think that a lot of schools have focused on churning out students, and that's not our goal at all. Our goal is as much one-on-one interaction as possible and making sure that the students get a really great education and a practical education that they can apply once they're in the field.
From your position, you know, with your blog, what do you write about that would be ancillary to what they are teaching in this school?
Yeah, well, recipe development is one thing that I love to do, and I do not have a professional food background, so I love to eat, so therefore I do a lot of recipe development, which I feel like is maybe part of the program.
Absolutely, absolutely. We teach students how to develop recipes using a system called the ratio system. So literally every recipe that you've ever seen is made up of a ratio. And we don't really want students to memorize recipes. We want them to know
not?
ratios.
Let me ask about that. You know, why not?
Because you couldn't possibly do it. I mean, there's too many recipes and too many quantities to try to memorize, but you can memorize a ratio. So right now I'll teach you one. 3-2-1 is the ratio for pie dough. So it's 3 parts flour, 2 parts fat, usually butter, maybe Crisco, and 1 part water, right? So if you know that, then it doesn't matter the quantity that you make.
One of the things that I find interesting, people like to go to places because, you know, it tastes the same way all the
That's
time.
exactly right.
So when you said, you know, like it's not really specific, but there's the ratio.
Right, right.
Well, ratio is about dollars too.
Absolutely.
And what you know, we talk about culinary arts, food and beverage, hotel management, and also tourism. Give us kind of a breakdown on what kind of money are we talking about that people can earn in these professions.
Well, it's interesting that you bring that up because there's been a lot of controversy in the world of culinary and hospitality education, because a lot of schools are super expensive to attend, and trying to make back the money for a student loan that you've gotten to attend one of these schools at an entry-level salary of a cook or a hostess or a waiter or waitress or a front desk person is almost impossible. So we feel like our program at Chattanooga State offers the ability for someone to attend the program at a community college level entry price, but also be able to go out and earn a living. We're really excited about that part of it. So, starting salaries are, $9, $10 an hour for a basic line cook position, all the way up to salaried positions of general manager of a hotel or a restaurant, which could, easily break $100,000 a year.
And there are some other positions that would command $24, $25, $28 an hour.
Absolutely.
What would they be?
Genius cook, I would say, for sure, but there are positions out there like that.
What are some of the principal subjects that you cover on your blog?
Well, it's a lot of eating, of course. So restaurants, I don't review restaurants, but definitely suggest. So I'm sure some of your students may, be responsible for some of the meals that I've eaten at some of these delicious restaurants.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But I take it you don't want to be known when you walk into a place that, oh yeah, there's the lady that writes that blog.
No, I'm in the business of reviewing. I'm sorry, suggesting, not reviewing. I think restaurant critics get a bad rap sometimes, and I don't, want to get into that.
But in your industry, getting feedback is the lifeblood to being successful.
Absolutely, and I teach the students, and we teach the students in the program to anticipate the needs of the guest, right? So the feedback should be a double check. It should be us knowing what to anticipate for the guest and delivering that, and then the feedback is a thumbs up or a thumbs down on how we did that, but most often it should be a thumbs up.
How's your enrollment going?
Really well, really well. We started out really small, which again was part of the plan, but we're going to be about, after our first year, this next fall, we'll be about 70 students.
Is that, you like it because it's small and manageable?
Absolutely, absolutely. We can do things kind of off the cuff. We go on tours of both businesses. We go on farm tours. We have a small greenhouse at the back of the campus, so we grew our own lettuce.
Oh, I like
this year.
that, from farm to table.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely,
yeah.
absolutely. So we're teaching all aspects of hospitality so that the students are as well-rounded as they can be.
Well, the other aspect of any business revolves around the opportunity not just for customers, but also to find money in order to be able to operate. And for a lot of nonprofits, this is an essential ingredient. Stay tuned as we develop a recipe for success.
You're doing great. We're gonna try this again, okay?
Okay.
Wheels, pedals, handlebar, brakes. Sit up straight, keep your weight in the center, keep your eyes on the road, hands on the grips, button the seat. If we feel ourselves falling, what do?
Just keep pedaling.
Good girl. Now remember, it's all about balance and steering. Steer with your hands, steer with your body. Steer into the corners and you stay out of trouble. And the bell's your buddy, so go ahead and ding that. All right, you ready? Here we go. Pedal, honey, pedal. There you go, you're a bike rider.
Most parenting is hard to do in just 2 minutes. But 2 minutes twice a day making sure they brush is easier, and it could help save them from a lifetime of tooth pain.
Join us for Point of View, weekends on News 12 Now and Bounce Chattanooga.
The average text takes your eyes off the road for nearly 5 seconds. At highway speeds, that's enough time to travel the length of a football field. Stop the texts, stop the wrecks.
Hi, I'm Maurice Lewis. Thank you very much for staying with us here on Point of View. Strategies, all important as a recipe for success. Jennifer Hoff is here with us to talk about her company, Sky Strategies. Welcome to Point of View.
Thank you for having me
Sky
today.
Strategies, because we think sky high, or?
Well, actually, my company is named after my daughter. Her middle name is Sky, but also it's a good metaphor for what we hope to achieve for the nonprofits that we do work with.
So what do you ask them to aim for the stars and settle for the moon?
Yeah. Well, we work with a variety of nonprofits, and we really focus on helping them develop their fund development strategies, which include grant writing, annual fund appeals, anything that they can do to help boost their bottom line and do more service to the community and impact the community.
This is a very highly competitive area. A lot of government monies that were available are no longer available, and nonprofits are faced with increased competition. So what's a degree of importance to having a good strategy?
Well, it's highly important in the grant field. And yeah, I've been in this field 17 years, and I've seen that competition level really increase. So having somebody who has the background and expertise walk a nonprofit through that process is really important, especially matching a nonprofit's mission with the right funding opportunities. What often happens is a nonprofit is targeting their grants or fund development strategies to the wrong funders, and they're not being successful. So what we do is we help sit down with that nonprofit, talk about their mission, and figure out what the best matches are for them and how to go about doing that successfully.
Well, Shannon, I'm assuming this is music to your ears because in order... Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I don't have an education background. I was trained as a culinarian and classically trained chef, and worked in resorts and hotels and did a lot of food development in my past. So I'm beginning to learn that education means you need funding. And usually the funding that you need for programs isn't enough on the state level or even the local level. So being able to go out to donors and find funding is really, really important. And we've done a lot of that. And I commend Jennifer on all of her work to do that, because there's so many programs that need funding, including ours. And it's been a lot of grassroots, and a lot of the local community has supported the program. And without it, we wouldn't be where we are.
What are the ingredients that go into a successful strategy for grant writing and for finding sources of money?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost is for a nonprofit to really know what their mission is and know what the need is in the community, because a funder wants to fund programs that are addressing a community need. So you got to make sure you understand who your target audience is, what that need is, and then from there identifying opportunities that have, first of all, they're going to award a lot of grants, they match your mission, and then sitting down and planning programs that are going to fit the program guidelines. All funders give you the recipe that you need to address when they release the request for proposals. So being able to read that request for proposals and respond to that and match your program with what the funder's looking for, I mean, that's critical. And a lot of nonprofits might take what I call shotgun approach, is writing one grant proposal, submitting it to multiple agencies and expecting success, but you really have to be fine-tuned into each funder's priority. You have to develop a relationship with that funder. I mean, it's really important to take a comprehensive, holistic approach when you're writing a grant.
Shawanda, as a freelance, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, couldn't.
Okay, as a freelance writer and a person with a blog, how specific do you have to write in order to attract the kind of audience that you want to help sustain what you're doing?
Yeah, well, I have to write pretty specific because, like Jennifer said, you have to know what your target audience is, and if you don't, then you sort of get lost out in the interwebs or the community. So because I know what my target audience is.
But how do you find your target audience? How do you determine that?
Well, research. I ask what my readers...
Which is exactly what you do, right?
Yeah.
Lots and lots of research, asking what my readers want, what they like, and also just going out in the community and finding people.
And from your viewpoint, you've been behind the stove. Now you're you're behind the desk.
Depends on what day it is.
So you have all of these different hats to wear. Tell us about some of the kind of people that are coming in that want training in the industries that you represent.
It's really interesting. Of course, Tennessee Promise has given us lots of high school graduates that are interested in a career field like culinary arts, hospitality management. But there are also people who want to change careers, who feel unsatisfied in the career that they chose initially. They don't want to do the same thing that they've done for 10, 15, 20 years, and they see maybe the glamorous side on Food Network, which isn't necessarily true, but if that helps to recruit people and I can teach them how to make their career more glamorous, then all the better.
And Jennifer, getting the money to get started is one thing. Mm-hmm. It becomes highly even more competitive, I assume, in order to find money for the third, fourth, and fifth years.
Yeah, so it's really important for any nonprofit, once you're able to get funding, is that you're implementing a program successfully, tracking your outcomes, and that's how you're able to then attract additional funding to sustain your program longer. But yeah, it's very important that you track your program, and that's something we do with our nonprofits that we work with, is we help them, once they get an award, make sure that they're implementing it and tracking that success, and then finding additional funders beyond that initial maybe 3 to 5 year grant period who, once they see success, they can go after bigger funders often.
So, thinking about success, you've just opened an office with a larger staff.
Yes, I have just moved to the Edney Innovation Center in Chattanooga, which is a wonderful place for creativity and business networking. And I've doubled my staff in the last 6 months. So I just added a new person this last week, and we've actually doubled our client base. We're really growing and expanding because there's such a need in this community with the number of nonprofits to actually raise funding to be able to implement their programs. So it's really great to be able to be in the Innovation Center, be right in the heart of the city where a lot of the work is taking place that our nonprofits are doing. It's really inspiring.
Are you surprised at the growth and number of nonprofits that are positioning themselves here in Chattanooga?
You know, I don't think I'm surprised because Chattanooga, I think, has always been an innovative place to live, and people really want to give back and make an impact in the community. And I think, yeah, just with the starting of this center, I mean, that's a direct response out of a need in our community for developing workers in the field because tourism is such a big industry here. So it's not a surprise to me. It makes things really competitive, you know, writing grants.
I think a lot of us take it for granted, Shannon, wherever we go, someone serves us, someone greets us, the whole process. Is there one particular person that you can remember that has come through the program that you say, here's a person that really needed what we had, and boy, look at where they are now?
I mean, there's so many. We're just getting started in the program, so I get to visit restaurants around town and see my students as employees, which makes me really proud. But I see them implementing the things that we taught them in the classroom and in the lab, and I know that they'll have an impact going forward. So there's not one. There's hopefully there's lots.
There's lots. Well, one of the things that we have here on Point of View is lots of opportunities to talk about many things. We want to thank you, Jennifer, and thank you, Shannon, for being with us here. And also, Shawanda, thank you very much for joining us. But the show is not over. Why? Because we haven't talked about something good to eat that's good for you. I know you're saying to yourself, oh, not that again. No, we're talking about nutrition, the real deal. And how important it is to know, because the requirements are changing rapidly, and things that were okay yesterday, maybe not so much today. We'll have that information and more when Point of View continues.
A full life measured in seats starts with the right ones early on. Car crashes are a leading killer of children 1 to 13. Learn how to prevent deaths and injuries by using the right car seat for your child's age and size.
So, I'm kind of new here, but I've noticed a trend. My human does this funny thing where she goes around and gets all my toys, and then she hides them in that basket by the door. You know, but it's always the same basket, and it's always in the same place. And then she acts so surprised when I find them, but, you know, she's putting them in the same basket. Again. It's like, hello? That's where you put it last time. You were the worst at hide and go seek.
Nutrition. I remember when I was a kid, we could eat anything we wanted for breakfast as long as it was what my mother had. And nutrition wasn't always what was there, but as we've grown up and we look forward to raising our own children, in my case and all the cases, you start to think about the nutritional aspects. What do they need for healthy growing bodies, and what do we need as older adults too, because our requirements will change. Well, we have a nutritionist with us today to talk about that. Victoria Bem, thank you so much for joining us. And Shannon Johnson, it's important that you be here because from your institute, you guys are teaching some of the same nutritional issues there.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Tell us a little bit about how is nutrition changing?
Oh, nutrition is, I think, shifting more toward what I would call the holistic aspects. So what you mentioned and growing up, you know, we all ate sugary cereals and nobody had second thoughts about it at all. And I think now parents are becoming more aware, you know, that's not so great. There's rising chronic disease, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, cancer, and they're all related. There are lots of studies coming out now about how our diet is impacting long-term health, and we're seeing rising obesity in children, and it's really sad. So I think that people are starting to realize there is more that we can do in terms of prevention, and there's more that we can do in the home hands-on, really taking control of our health before it goes down the wayside. So I would say that people are starting to take a more active role in their nutrition, and that they're also starting to incorporate more organic foods, more whole foods, more local and seasonal, and really.
What do you
shifting that
attribute
way.
people taking more of a hands-on role in their nutrition? Is it because of education, affordability?
I think that there are a lot of aspects, and so education, yes. I think that there's more in the media about nutrition, about health. We're seeing a lot of books being written. This is just a growing industry all around. People have more access. You know, the internet's really great for providing us. And maybe it's a little bit too much, maybe it's overwhelm for some people. And so, you know, that's kind of why it's nice to have somebody that can say, hey, I've read all of this stuff and this is my perspective on it. So, and then the affordability piece, it sort of depends. There's this conception, and I would say a misconception, that whole, good, real, organic foods are more expensive. Sometimes yes, sometimes no. It really just depends. It depends on the season. If you're trying to buy strawberries in the dead of winter, yeah, they're going to be $6 for a container, but they might be $3 in the summer. So it's sort of a matter of looking at the various factors and trying to choose the foods that are right in different seasons. And
How was it that you were able to work the nutrition angle in, or is that an integral part of being able to teach culinary skills?
You know, it's interesting because traditionally it wasn't that much of a part of the curriculum for, you know, traditional culinary schools, but it's more and more important. Victoria brings up seasonality, for instance. It's important that seasonality is linked to a good nutritional plan for the expense reasons, but also the food is better quality when it's in season. There's no way to fool Mother Nature in that way. So nutrition's a base knowledge of nutrition is super important to a culinary program.
You know, you mentioned freshness as, you know, the closer from the ground to the table is one thing. But for people in inner cities, for instance, they don't have the money or the store that has fresh produce, so they have to work with frozen or canned stuff. What are the nutritional ups and downs of that?
yeah, access is a really important issue, and one that we need to maybe do better at as a country. The nice thing about Chattanooga is we've got markets all over, and so I think that's one of the beautiful things, that even if you are downtown, you can get to one of the markets pretty easily. In terms of the pros and cons of fresh versus canned versus frozen, absolutely fresh is best. You're going to have more nutritional value. It's going to taste better.
Yeah, but you know what? I'm gonna cook this. I'm gonna cook this thing until it doesn't move anymore.
Hopefully, it's not moving.
You know,
when you have it.
okay, it was bright green when I got it, but I'm just, you know, I'm used to. My mother used to cook it this way, or my auntie cooks this way, and now it's not bright green anymore.
That's a good point.
Yeah,
And
it's,
so,
you know, like, how do you just cook the goodness out of it?
Yeah, well, you want to cook the goodness back in, so greens is a really good example. You know, we overcook our food so much, and I think greens, especially if you boil them, I mean, you don't want to have them in boiling water for too long. Just a few minutes till they're bright green, till the color should be really beautiful. If they're gray and not green, then they've probably reduced, you know, that's too much. Their nutrient density is reduced. They probably don't taste so great.
So, and with your guys and women that are in the profession, walk into a restaurant, you order something, you don't have 2 hours for those greens to get ready.
Definitely not.
Or for anything else.
Definitely not.
What's the speed and nutrition?
There's some technologies now that allow us to cook more rapidly while retaining good nutrition. So I know that in our restaurant here in town, we use sous vide a lot to maintain nutrient value and cook at really low temperatures. So it's cooking under vacuum. And
I noticed you didn't say anything about microwaving.
No, definitely not. But there's also, you know, there's also just plain old raw. Not everything has to be cooked, right? As chefs, we always think about, oh, we got to fire up the grill, we got to do this. But, you know, I can do 3 courses of food out of 7 for you, Maurice, that I only cook 4 of the courses.
Well, you know, you've just bought yourself a challenge, because now you're going to have to come back. You both of you are going to have to come back. We'll move over to another part of the studio where we have the space in order to be able to do this.
Yeah,
that's great.
All right, we have a deal. Yeah,
All right.
we definitely have a deal. How many did you say?
We'll do 6 or 7 courses, Maurice. We might have to expand your show a little bit, but we can do it.
You know, for older Americans, a lot of times they don't really want to eat a lot. They may be on a fairly limited diet. What are your suggestions about paying attention to nutritional needs?
Yeah, so life cycle nutrition, and that's a course that I teach a graduate level at the Maryland University of Integrative Health. And so it changes dramatically from infancy through the elder years. And so as age increases, a lot of times metabolism slows, people are not so interested in eating. One of the things that I found to be really successful is incorporating smoothies into the diet. It's a great way to get a lot of calories.
Simple,
and you drink
easy.
them. Digestion is not an issue. Some people have compromised digestion as they age, and it's already pre-digested. It's already
And some of the
blended.
foods that you can get that are reduced, some of the vegetables that go into not quite the best, but still great enough for a smoothie. You can more affordable. You can get those into the diet. For people who want to contact you to say, listen, I would like to investigate a career in hospitality, tourism, or management.
Yeah, they just need to register as a student at Chattanooga State, chattanoogastate.edu, or they can call me directly as well.
How much money? Are we talking about a lot of money in order to get in, and are there special considerations for veterans?
Absolutely, and it's so much more affordable than going to a private culinary school. We're so proud of that, and the resources are here for people who are really interested in having an impact on the industry.
I like the fact that we're talking more about nutrition because we want to live longer. We want to be able to do more things. So is there just a quick basic diet that people, a basic set of things that should go into a good nutritional day?
Yeah, I think
briefly.
Yeah. So I would say just whole, real, organic, as much as possible, local, seasonal, mostly plant foods, and we're talking about vegetables and fruits and grains in their whole states. That's really the foundation, and so meats, fats, and those other lovely desserts and things that we like to enjoy have a place, certainly depending on the person's diet.
Well, we want to thank you both very much for taking your time to be our guest here on Point of View, and I will expect you guys to come back so that we can have this great, tasty challenge.
Thank you.
Next week on Point of View, we'll talk about the tasty side of politics. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Maurice Lewis.
Closed captioning provided by the following.
Funding for this program is brought to you by Barnett & Company, specializing in tax-efficient strategies for the preservation and distribution of family wealth, offering continuous investment management with a focus on long-term strategies. Areas of service include investment, estate, education, and retirement planning. Barnett & Company, the power of compound returns over time. More information can be found on the web at barnettandcompany.com.